Alright guys, so last time we talked about the Renaissance. This time we're going to dive right in to talking about some of the arts and sciences that came out of the Renaissance. Let's get started. So then from about 1550 to 1700, Europe's going to experience this scientific revolution where these new ideas in physics, astronomy, biology, and anatomy are going to change the way Europeans viewed the natural world. And you had things created like the scientific method. You guys can tell your chemistry teachers, I just taught you some science. When did the scientific method get started? During the Renaissance. Yeah. Okay? So everything was questioned and nothing was really assumed to be true. And before this, right? Or before this, people weren't questioning. Now people are questioning and saying, well, what actually is the truth, though? Let's try to find out. Right? And thinkers also use this idea of logic to find answers to these questions. Some of the reasons for the scientific revolution, part of it began for discoveries in other areas of European life. And during the Renaissance, people began to question old beliefs and thought that humans could accomplish anything. Also, in the age of exploration, the discovery of new lands led people to search for other new things. And this stuff about the age of exploration we'll talk about a lot more next unit. So, just to give you guys examples of some of the scientists, one of them is Nicholas Copernicus. Copernicus is going to believe that the Earth and other planets revolve around the sun. People before Copernicus thought that everything revolved around the Earth and that the Earth was the center of the universe. Copernicus is going to find out it's actually not the Earth, it's the sun. Everything revolves around the sun. Okay. And then you had people like Kepler, who's going to create this thing called elliptical orbits, which you guys are going to learn about in next year in physics, I think? I don't know. That's not fun. But there you go. And then you had Galileo, which I'm sure you guys have heard about Galileo, right? He basically improved on the telescope. He didn't actually invent it like a lot of people think, but he did improve upon it. And he created the law of inertia and kind of helped improve the idea of the scientific method. And then you had people like Isaac Newton, who is basically seen as the founder of physics. So next year you guys will get to know a lot about Isaac Newton. He's also going to discover the idea of gravity. People didn't know gravity existed. They just didn't understand why everything just dropped. They just thought it was just normal. But he actually was able to create a name for it and say, well, it's actually this thing called gravity. Super cool. Okay? He's also going to create calculus. Some of you guys might be taking calculus someday. You can blame it on Isaac Newton. And then this one, shameless plug, I am related to this person. William Harvey. I think I might make that an extra question on a quiz. But he's this English doctor who proved that blood can circulate throughout the body and it's pumped by the heart. Which, I don't really know how my ancestor figured that one out, but did he cut open someone and play with their blood? I don't know. But I'm related to him, so there's that. And then you had this guy, Vesalius, who's basically going to study human anatomy and learn a lot of things about how the human body works. So, revival in this trade in Europe is going to help to bring an end to the Middle Ages and give rise to the Renaissance. And it's going to increase trade is going to give rise to Italian city-states and this wealthy middle class of bankers and merchants who wanted to really show off their new status by having this idea of art. So now we're going to switch over a little bit from science to art. So the rise of cities are going to bring artists together. It's going to lead to new techniques and different styles of art. Okay. Okay, so like I said, Florence is going to be really big with art, and it's home to the Medici family, which is the wealthiest, most powerful family in Europe at the time. And they're going to use their wealth to commission art for themselves and try to make Florence as beautiful as possible. And that's where you get a lot of these really cool architecture. And so this one guy in the Medici family named Lorenzo is going to commission this painting that you see right here from the Medici brothers of the three magi. So it's this really pretty picture, right? And he's going to help to commission it to allow it to be made. He's also going to pay to build this massive cathedral for Florence. I actually saw this cathedral in Florence. It's so cool. Also, it's by the place where I almost died, but, you know, okay. Okay, so some of the artists, one of them is Donatello, who was the first really big great sculptor of the Renaissance. He's going to revive that classical Greco-Roman style of sculptures that are really realistic. One of the biggest things he is known for, though, is the statue David, which was this first large freestanding human sculpture of the Renaissance. Okay? Next guy is this guy named Michelangelo. He's one of the most famous Renaissance artists. So he's a painter, he's a sculptor, he's an architect, he's a poet. He does it all. His paintings really were big on trying to show realism in the human body and trying to show expressions through personality and emotion. So he's going to create things like Pieta and David, which are considered masterpieces. I actually saw David. It's in Florence. It is huge, y'all. I don't think y'all know what huge is. It's as big as like the Empire State Building. It's bigger than, it's like probably 3 times the size of the Statue of Liberty. It is huge. So Michelangelo's greatest work, though, is a little thing known as the Sistine Chapel. One of my classes, I believe it's 7th period, I have a professional shusher. I told you guys how they paid someone to shush people. Yeah, so if you go to the Sistine Chapel, there's someone in there. They paid this person money, and every 5 seconds they go, shh, shh. It's just like what I do every day in class. Wow. Okay, so then you had this guy, Leonardo da Vinci, who he was seen as a true Renaissance man. So you ladies over here better keep an eye on this guy, Leonardo da Vinci. He was a painter and sculptor whose art was known for this incredible realism and emotion. He was also an inventor and scientist, and his sketches revealed these observations about human anatomy and new engineering technology. And his most famous painting is The Last Supper, which I'm sure you guys have all seen, but again, here it is. And it shows Jesus' last meeting with the 12 apostles before the crucifixion. And these different facial expressions and just the emotions you see behind it are going to really make it into a masterpiece. His other huge famous one that, again, you guys should all know is the Mona Lisa. I've also seen the Mona Lisa. Like, it's really small, I'm not going to lie. There was always, there was a huge crowd around it when you can go and see it in Paris. And, it's this tiny little painting, but I have some pictures with it. I'll show you guys. The Northern Renaissance is going to take place, basically all in the northern part, over where the Franks were that we talked about. And it's going to spread from, the Renaissance is going to spread from Italy as scholars and merchants are going to visit those Italian city-states, and they're going to start to move north. And as these ideas spread, this Northern Renaissance is going to develop its own characteristics. So the Renaissance in France was most known for its unique architecture. It was also known for literature. And one of the really big guys behind literature is probably the most important person you need to know, William Shakespeare. Yeah, like I said, this is the time of Romeo and Juliet. Here we go. So I've actually seen where Shakespeare lived. A couple summers ago, I took a study abroad up in England, and I got to see his place. I got to see a play in the Globe, which is his theater. It's really cool, you guys. And the Renaissance in the Netherlands is, meanwhile, there's the Renaissance in the Netherlands, and it's going to be mostly known for realism and art. Alright guys, that's all I have for you guys in the arts and sciences. Next week, we'll be talking about the Reformation. See you guys next time.